Welcome back to Modern Commerce. I am excited for our guest today, Mrs. Sonya Robinson. We will get into who she is and what she does and why you should listen to her in just a second after a quick word from our sponsors. What's up, everybody? This is John and Casey from ModCom, and I have to show you something, all right? This tool is called Wicked Reports. It's one of the best attribution tools I've ever seen because of this feature called Funnel Vision. It breaks up your ROAS into top, middle, and bottom of funnel. So I'm here in my Facebook ads account and checking out this campaign, V-Day Sale. I'd probably be cutting this thing, right? If I was looking in Ads Manager or if I was looking at first touch attribution, I'd be like, you suck, 0.18 ROAS. You're out. But if I look at it middle funnel, it's like one of the best closers. If I look at it bottom of funnel, it's one of the best closers. So that campaign is closing. I got to keep it running. I got to adjust the targeting in there, and I got to adjust the creative in there. You know what I'm saying, Casey?
John, if you look at the top campaign here, this 4-pack lob rolls, you can see actually the exact opposite effect. It's bringing people into the account, into this world really effectively, but it's not that closing type. So you kind of need a little bit of both, right? Like this is the Kobe. Close. One you described as the Shack. Together, they make beautiful harmony in your ad account.
Yeah, that one's lobbing it up. The other one's throwing it down. If you want to find out which of your campaigns are Kobe's, which ones are Shacks, and which ones you should just cut entirely, don't even give them a roster spot, go to wickedreports.com and click the Book a Demo button. What's up, everybody? Today's episode is brought to you by ModCom. It's a super slick in-car upsell app. So if I want to buy these New Balance trainers I'm trying to get in shape, I add them to my cart. My cart opens up and it says, hey, look, you're only $5 away from free shipping. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll add this to my cart since you recommended it. And now I got my free shipping. But hold up, I'm only $38 away from a free gift. So why don't I add a pair of size 8 New Balance trainers to my cart for my girlfriend? She's got bigger feet than me. And now look at this. It actually automatically added that free gift straight to my cart for me. That will all be there when I check out. Super nifty app, super slick, super quick way to increase your AOV. Go to monkcommerce.com. Try it free on your store for 7 days. Yeah. What's up? So with the podcast caught me talking to the IG people. So we are live on IG. We're live here on YouTube. I'm here with Sonya, and I'm excited to have you as we As we get more into this creator series. I am looking for some diversity here, not like in any kind of let me reset that.
Diversity, inclusion. I'm all for it.
That was. I mean, you and I are very diverse. So I am looking for some people who have different backgrounds than me specifically, where my background has been very brand side in working with creators and like working with ads and running ads and running marketing and growth for brands. Your background has actually been more as an influencer and creator. And what I think is really interesting about you and why I wanted to have you on and why, maybe we'll have you on more and more as we go is you've actually been able to figure out a way to make a really solid living, a really solid income, even as a small, what, you might call a smaller influencer, right? You've even across all your platforms, you have maybe 20,000 followers, right? So I do want to talk to you about that. Sonya, welcome. I know how are you feeling? It's a little bit of a whirlwind before, isn't it?
Yeah, because I'm like, where do I look at?
Like, where do I look at Instagram? No. Do you look at me? What do I do with my hands? I don't know.
I know, right? I'm like, no, but I'm happy to be here. I feel good. I'm excited to talk about this industry with you guys and a lot about what I learned. And it's interesting how you say, you run the ads for the brands, but my main job is to create those ads. So Talking about like the KPIs and all that stuff, I think we'll be able to have some fun conversations here.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So thanks to everybody watching us on Instagram right now. We are doing the ModCom podcast live. If you're like getting in here and wondering what the heck is going on, that's what's happening. So Sonya, give me your background. Tell me your story, make it epic though. Like I don't know if you're like a big time podcast listener, but I kind of always hate like people are like, oh, I started my career in, sales for this company. And it's just like so boring. I'm like, I'm already out. Like, can you make it? I didn't tell you beforehand that you were supposed to make it epic, but I'm throwing it at you. Coming in with a high fastball right away.
Yeah, we'll start with just the basics. So I went to school for healthcare administration, went to teach English in Korea after I graduated from college, and then I came back to the States. I was in healthcare consulting for a few years, pivoted, went to full-time personal training, which I still do now part-time. But then I got into creating my personal brand, which is how I even got into content creating in the first place, was creating content for my own personal brand for being a personal trainer.
Mhm.
And then as of last year, I pivoted again, going into full time of being a content creator. Technically, I guess my title would be creator strategist, UGC creator. So I create content for brands to run either on their social media platforms or as paid ads. And then I do some influencing with my personal brand as well.
I like it. Socially Aziz on Instagram says everything you do is epic, and that was.
Oh, thank you, girl. Hey, girl.
I don't know if I would call your backstory telling epic, but I would call it concise. So that's good.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I guess I wish that, you know, more people who are introducing themselves on podcasts, if they're going to be boring about it, at least they could be quick. No, you're gonna put me to sleep. Do it quickly.
Yeah.
No, that was good, because, you know, when I think of like healthcare administration, I typically think like that's in that's very, very related to teaching English in Korea. Super related. Hand in hand. Most of the people I know who major in healthcare administration teach English in Korea or China afterwards, both of which are also very related to being a personal trainer and an influencer and creator. So now I'm just kind of wondering like why you did the healthcare administration thing.
I got bamboozled, man. That, you know, people try to sell you a dream, talking about go to college and go into debt for this, and then come out and try to live the American dream. And
yeah,
that wasn't for me.
Yeah, no. So did you like go to like a bigger school, like where you went into debt, had student loans and stuff like that?
Yep, I went to U of I, or University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign.
Yeah, I think of U of I as different as University of Idaho, but that makes a lot of sense. There's more people in Illinois. There's more people in Illinois. Casey also went to U of I, but not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Casey, our backstage producer, also went to U of I, but it was in Moscow, Russia, aka Moscow, Idaho, aka the worst place ever. You don't want to be there. Yeah, I think that's a lot of. I hear a lot of that in the industry, in the entrepreneurial industry, right? Like people are like, oh, you know, college is this scam, and like, you know, I don't think it's worth it, and we shouldn't do it and stuff like that. I mean, is that your take on it? Because I personally don't have that take. I also went to school, got a bachelor's, all of that stuff. I didn't go into debt for it. I was, call it lucky, call it something else. I had an athletic scholarship, so that was fortunate.
You were blessed and highly favored.
Fortunate and blessed, and I mean, there's not to say there's not a lot of hard work in that, there is, but so I didn't go into debt for it. But I also think that, you know, had I not had that, I still don't know that I would have gone into debt for it. I probably would have like done like the community college thing and then gone, you know, probably a smaller school or something like that. Tried to work, tried not to, but that, like, you know, that's the kind of stuff that puts you on the 10-year bachelor's program. You know what I mean?
For sure.
What's your take on it though? So are you like this college thing, like just, it's not really worth it, don't do it?
I mean, I absolutely love college. I think it was a great 4 years of my life. I had a blast in college.
Is the party worth as much money as you paid?
I think so. And the funny thing is, I don't even drink alcohol. So like, I partied sober throughout college and had the time of my life. Like, I was affiliated with, you know, a fraternity and an auxiliary group. So like, we partied hard, but like, in terms of the trade-off, like, it's a great experience. Like I said, I met some really cool people, still friends to this day, had some great experiences, but I don't think it's necessary to be successful in life, because like right now I'm not even using my degree. So
yeah, okay, so that's a good point. I do think that it is like, so first of all, I don't know if you know, do you know any of these people who are like 22 and like super successful and like, you know, like make a lot of money and like really driven?
I see them on Twitter.
Yeah. I'm like, who are you? I can't imagine a world where I don't waste my early 20s. Like, what are you doing with, you know? But so like, that is a good point though. I will say that I do agree with you on the point that I don't think that college is 100% necessary or needed in order to be successful. You know, one of our kind of live watchers right now, I know he's childhood friend. He has a college degree too, also had an athletic scholarship. If you have an athletic scholarship, you're probably just going to go get a degree. He works in something that's completely unrelated to his degree. A lot of people end up working in something that's completely unrelated to their degree. And for a really long time, it was just like, it was the entry fee to get the job interview. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it's like, oh, must have 4-year degree. And it still kind of is for a lot of jobs. But I think that, and this is maybe where we shift into the creator economy, as much as I say it every episode, and I hate the buzzword every episode. You and I, this is what we're going to do. You and I are going to come up with a better thing to call it than the creator economy. Not right now, but
I can dig it.
Yeah. I think the creator economy is kind of representative of a lot of the kind of just job market economy now, in that it's like, there's a lot of ways to make money that aren't just apply for a job, interview for job, get hired. So that 4-year degree, that's the entry fee to even get interviewed for that job, is a little bit less necessary when there's so many ways that you can make a living. So let's get into that. You're teaching English in Korea and you come back. Sorry, maybe I missed this part of your story. You come back and you start being a personal trainer right away. Like, tell me the events around, like what made you decide to come back? What made you decide to stop doing that? What got you into personal training?
So after Korea, I came back to the States and I moved to Chicago for the healthcare consulting job. So I was doing that for 3 years.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So you did use your degree a little bit. That's nice.
I did. I did the whole cubicle 9 to 5 thing, going downtown, hopping on the L, and
where do you live?
Life, man. I live in Chicago.
Okay.
But after a while, I realized like how unhappy I was, especially when you are abroad for 2 years, living your best life, experiencing all these things, and then coming to work in a cubicle, a 9 to 5, this mundane kind of like monotony of life. And I started competing. So I'm like huge into fitness. So I got into NPC bikini. So I started doing that, and I was always at the gym. So I was like, yo, I'm already here. Like, maybe I should start training part-time. And then they were like, hey, if you get certified, we'll hire you. I was like, bet. So I got certified. They hired me. I did that in tandem for a year. So I was personal training for a year part-time, and then still doing full-time consulting. And then after a year of that, I was like so unhappy with my life and just like what I was doing. I was like, I got to jump ship. So I ended up quitting my corporate job to go into personal training full-time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get into like trainers that I like. It's a tough gig, honestly.
It is.
I know a lot, and it's like so. I've paid for training before, which is it was very hard for me to do because I was a college athlete, and so I was like, I don't need to pay somebody to train me. Like, I know what to do. And I was a college athlete in like a heavy training sport. I was a track athlete, so like. It's like, it was very hard, but this guy actually happened to be kind of like a friend. So I was like, all right, I'll help him out or whatever. And so before he got certified, he was like, yeah, I'll train you while I'm getting certified and you can just pay me whatever. And he was like, I'll just like, $50 a session or whatever. I was like, great, done, and then he got certified, and then I had to pay him through the gym, and I had to pay like $200 a session, which I just did because whatever, but he still got paid the same. And so, yeah, like it's like, and I hear that from a lot of trainers. It's like, dude, your days are hard because usually they're like teaching some classes, then they're doing some personal training, and they're like it's physically exhausting. It's long, and you don't actually make that much money. And so, then a lot of them start building this kind of online following. So take me from that. Like, you start being a trainer full time. What led you to being like, I need to actually like grow my like personal brand?
Yeah. So I was at a corporate gym first, and then I did that for a couple of years before I actually went independent. So then I lived in a really nice apartment building, had like a really dope gym. So I would just bring my clients there. And then
that's cool.
After I moved out of there, I ended up finding a boutique gym that I would just rent out my sessions for. So then I was able to actually get most of my money and not have to give it to the corporate gym. But in tandem, in order for me to find my clients, I would start to build up my personal brand. So I would say, I don't know, probably like 5, 7, 8 years ago. That's when I was like heavy into like the educational content with fitness and nutrition and all that stuff. And that's how I got the seed planted in terms of like learning how to create content. And back then Instagram was a lot different from what it is now. Like, there weren't reels. It was just like very much pictures and like the slides for the videos. So it was like very simple. And I look back at my old posts and I'm just like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I've come a long way.
It's so what you said is really interesting. So in e-commerce, like when people sell brands that sell physical products, which I know you work a lot with a lot of them now. We'll get into that. In e-commerce, there's this group of people who are what we might call Amazon sellers. They sell products on Amazon specifically. And their biggest complaint is always the same thing as the trainer at the corporate gym. Like, they take such a big cut of my money. Amazon takes so much of my money. My margins are already thin because my margins have to be really thin in order to even compete, because the same thing in a gym. It's like, hey, there's 10 trainers there. If you charge a bunch more for your sessions, like, why is there anybody going to choose you? You know what I mean? Without even knowing you. So you did what is in e-commerce called direct to consumer, where it's like, we're not going to sell through Amazon. We're going to sell directly to the consumer so we can keep all of our money. The problem with that is that the Amazon sellers don't see is that you have to find the customer then, right? So you're the one who has to spend either money on ads or resource on content, or whatever. Like, you have to get the eyeballs of the customer. So that was the route you went, which ultimately I think builds a better asset, right? Because it's like, oh, if I can get the customer, then I have the power, right? But it's hard in some ways, probably harder. You know what I mean? I think you can probably be comfortable like that. I think that's what happens to a lot of people in life, is like, they get into this situation where, whatever, they're selling on Amazon, or they're, a trainer at a corporate gym and stuff, and they make enough to be comfortable. And that like comfort keeps them from like pushing and doing something more. So yeah, tell me a little bit about then, like, so when you were first starting building this following, like, I mean, you're Chicago, you'd bring your clients to, but you had to be gaining a following everywhere. Like, how did you adjust for that? Because it's like, oh, you can't just keep your following only in Chicago, right?
Yeah. And the interesting thing, I think the pandemic helped with that, because I had to pivot my business model, right? Like, so I was doing a lot of virtually. Yeah. So like, initially I was I did a little bit of online training, but not like as much as I was doing now, even the last few years. So I had to pivot. So, like, and I think it was a blessing in disguise, because like before I was focusing on just the Chicago market. And so being able to pivot, now I could branch out my services to other people in other places, and, could train people who lived in Colorado or Florida or wherever it may be.
Yeah. So I think that a good point here is that one thing that I tend to believe about like creating content, building a following on any platform. And it's like, I'm not drinking my own Kool-Aid here, because this isn't what we do with Modern Commerce. At Modern Commerce, we do not have anything to sell you. We only have things to sell our sponsors, right? And so we sell advertising space, we sell sponsors, but we don't have Modern Commerce isn't attached to a business in any way. But I think that, like, as a marketing arm of a business, is the absolute best way to monetize a following, like, to a small degree. So so let's start there, because the whole point of this episode is to tell people, how do you take a small following and turn that into a significant amount of income. And I think way number one is that it is the marketing arm to your business, right? So if you have a page where you're creating content, and there is a system by which, like, okay, when somebody follows me, maybe I reach out to them, I see what they need, right? Like, it's like, this is how I'm generating leads for my business. I think that's way number one, right? And that's where you started, even probably before when you were under 10,000 followers, it was already a way for you to make money, because you were using it as the marketing arm of your business. So I mean, do you talk more about that, or did I pretty much say it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, because it's, like you said, you've got to be able to provide value to the people, because the number of followers, it means absolutely nothing. Like, I've on TikTok, I was talking about like how blessed and fortunate I am to be able to be successful in my first year of doing this full time. And I would have creators who had like 50K, 100K followers be like, I'm not monetizing. Like, I'm not getting paid. How do I start making money? Like, how do I start monetizing my platform? It's like, you're looking at vanity metrics, right? Like, views and followers don't equate to money, you know? So for
likes
me, in
aren't
terms
cash.
of like, Yeah, exactly. So for me, in terms of like with personal training, like I had to provide enough value. And even if my following was small, it was still enough to get it monetized to support my personal training business, right? So you start off with a lead magnet. I had to, sign up for this to get a PDF on 6 ways to lose body fat or whatever my lead magnet was back in the day. And
Like,
then
I don't even remember. It's not important.
I accumulated my email list and I started a newsletter, and then like once I stepped away from personal training, like I said, I only do it part-time now, and it's only with the select few clients that I've had for years and years.
Right.
I stepped away from that, but like now that I pivot into UGC and content creating, I'm like, okay, now I got to do that again, but instead of personal training, more so content creating.
So
I'm still trying to figure that part out.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is really interesting is you when we first got on a call, which wasn't right now. This isn't the first time that we've met. I was talking to you about how we are starting to amass quite a few people in our audience who are creators slash influencers, and
Mm-hmm.
and you, in my brain, those two things were like, essentially, it's like, it's basically semantics. It's different words for the same thing. That's how it was in my brain. And you instantly said, like, well, I'm a creator, and an influencer. Like, they're actually two different things in your brain.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. What is the difference between a creator and an influencer?
Yeah, so I think for influencing, people have the general ideas that you're posting on your own personal feed to showcase a product, whether you're, affiliated with that product or just, you're getting paid to promote the product or whatever it may be. If it's gifted exchange for, brand ambassador, for commissions, whatever it may be, you're posting it onto your real estate to show to your following. So you're tapping into your target audience who should be somewhat similar to and aligned with the actual brand, and
Mm-hmm.
targeting them on your real estate. Rather than with content creating, I have the ability to create content for brands to either put on their social media or to run it as paid ads. So you don't technically see it on my page unless I like absolutely love the product and I use it on my day-to-day basis, and I'll
Yeah.
probably like include it into like a vlog or something, or like, what I eat in a day or whatever it may be.
Right. Then you post it anyway. So essentially the line
Yeah.
being that, like, a creator is someone who creates content. Some of that content will go on their page or on their channel or wherever they create content. Some of that content might
Mm-hmm.
actually just be for the brand to use. And I think this is
Right.
an important distinction, because the next question I want to ask you is, you essentially have sort of what I would call three ways you're monetizing your following right now. Way one is that you do have some personal training clients still from it.
Mm-hmm.
Way number two is that you are it has allowed you to like kind of leverage and become this UGC content creator for brands, for creating content for them to use on their page, or for them to like put as a collaboration or whatever the deal is, right? And we'll get into more of that, like how does that content creator thing work and how do you get into that. And then way number three is you do actually do that, what you would call being an influencer, right? Where you get paid
Yep.
to post something, paid to do a brand collaboration. So the question that I want to ask you is, let's say you were just focusing on that influencing piece, which I think a lot of people building a following anywhere mainly focus on the influencing piece, where they're like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to build my following and create a bunch of content, and then I want to, post stuff or sell ad space or whatever it is, to monetize that. That's what I think the model is to a lot of people. Tell
For
me,
sure.
right now, I know that you've said, you were able to make 6 figures a year, or 6 figures last year, even in your first year of just doing UGC full time. If you were just doing that influencer, if that was your only way of monetizing, how well would you be monetizing on the size following you have?
Not as well as if it had not been for my UGC business.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Like,
That's for sure.
is it even close?
Not even close.
Yeah. So
Not
I mean,
even, like, nowhere close. I would say not even, probably on the influencing side, not even 5 figures.
yeah,
So maybe
no. So
four figures. Yeah.
which is,
Low 4
that's a
figures
line.
for influencing.
That's exactly right. Right. Because you are, I mean, your following is good. It's engaged. It's like I'm not, not knocking it, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
huge. Right. And
Yeah. Not at
typically, if
all.
I'm from the brand side, I'll give you this insight from the brand side. If you Sonya comes up to me and says, hey, you're the marketing director, you're the CMO of this company that has this product that I like, and I would like to promote it on my page. Here's my prices. I'm going to look at the size of your following. I'm going to ask you some questions like how many views do your stories usually get? When you do a swipe up, or they're called something else now. When you link out in your stories, how many clicks does it usually get, right? You're going to give me all of that. And literally with the size following you have, like, I couldn't pay you that much. Otherwise the ROI just wouldn't be there for me, right? We're talking about a couple $100.
Absolutely.
And a couple $100, that's great. That's fine. But think about having to run down, a living's worth of couple $100 deals. That's so many brands. Like that's
and then your page would be full of just
promotion
sponsorships. And
then your following wouldn't be engaged.
Somebody. Exactly.
And then your following wouldn't
typically
be
those posts always get the least amount of engagement anyways,
right. And then your whole page would be full of them. And even if they're just buying stories, so that your page isn't full of them, still those stories are like, if you have a bunch of like stories that are ads essentially right in a row, then people stop like following your story. Then your story stops being like toward the front of their feed. Right. So this is, it's all stuff that like trying to monetize that way is like this really weird non-flywheel where you have to chase down more deals. And then the more deals you chase down, the more stuff that you have to post that's promotional. And then the less engaged your following is, and then the less valuable you are to those deals. And then the less you get paid from them. And then you have to chase down more and more. And it's just, it does not fly well. So I think that, and this just, I guess, seemed obvious to me, but maybe it's not to a lot of creators and influencers. Like the main way that you're going to monetize a following that is, if you don't want to, if you're like modern commerce like us, and you don't really want to attach it to a business, we don't really want to have an agency. We had an agency. That's how modern commerce started. We had an agency. We don't want to have an agency anymore. We want modern commerce to be content for content's sake. We just want to create content on it. And we do want to sell ad spots, right? Like we do want to monetize in that way, but we could never pay the bills that way. The main way is to be essentially like a UGC content creator, or what you would deem a creator as opposed to just an influencer. So tell me how you got into that.
So I took, little hodgepodges of everything. I took the creative skill set to be able to create content. I took the business mindset of being an entrepreneur, and then I took my own learning of psychology, human behavior, marketing, all that science, and just smashed it all together, right? Because I see a lot of people are like, oh, well, I create content, I can become a UGC creator. And then you check out the portfolio and then you're like, just because you have an iPhone don't make you a content creator. Like there is an art behind this, right? Like brands, the whole point of creating content for brands is to make them conversions, right? So if you're over here just like holding up a product or like showing me a product, but there's no direct response marketing behind it, if you're not like emotionally being able to connect with me to show me there's a problem, that it is a solution, because I might not even know that it is a problem, right? So I might not even know I have the problem. So like, why would I even think that your product can be the solution? So if you don't have the basic understanding behind that, I don't think that you're going to be successful in this field, as well as being an entrepreneur. Like, because just think, like on TikTok, especially, like within the last year, UGC creators have like blown up massively. And you have a lot of creators talking about like, oh, my first year I made, or my first month I made 4 figures, or blah, blah, blah. My first month I made $800. Okay. Like I didn't make a lot of money my first month. By month 4, I hit 5 figures. So it took a while, but by month 2, I was making 4 figures, like close to $7,000. So like from one month to the next, like it's huge difference. But again, it's the science behind it in terms of understanding direct response marketing and having the entrepreneur mindset, because it's not for the weak. Like anyone who's an entrepreneur knows that it's a roller coaster ride, right? Like you're going to have good months, you're going to have not so good months, but like consistency at the end of the day is what's going to rule out a good creator, right? So I would say getting started in this, I perfected my craft. So understanding how to create good content, good engaging content was the first key. And then I would just post my work everywhere. Like on Twitter, I use Twitter. Twitter is my equivalent of LinkedIn. So that's like my networking, that's my creative space. And I would just keep my Instagram and I would post just my normal day-to-day content because that could portray my actual content creating skills. And then I started to really understand, again, the psychology behind like human behavior, direct response marketing, and I was able to portray that into the content that I created for the brands. And then they saw that I was starting to get them good, KPIs, good ROAS. And now I work this whole entire time. I've worked strictly on inbound. I've did one cold email outreach, and that was a gifted collaboration as well. So this whole entire year, I've worked strictly on inbound, brands coming to me wanting to work with me, and like the sky's the limit.
Yeah. So I do want to, I love that. I love the story. So I want to just take a second, shout out everybody who is watching live on IG, watching live on YouTube, watching live on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you're watching live. If you, certain platforms, I can't see your comments. So I think LinkedIn and Twitter specifically, I can't see your comments. But if you guys have any questions for us, if you have any questions for like specific questions for Sonya about like, okay, well, how did you like first get these deals? Like, how did you get started? Whatever it was. Feel free to drop them in the chat. If you drop them in the Instagram chat, I'll see them. If you drop them in the YouTube chat, I will see them. And I don't know if I can see them in the LinkedIn chat, but so the thing that, I think my next real question for you is like, so what does that mean when you say that you perfected your craft? Because I think you're making a really good point. And I think that the question on everybody's mind is, okay, well, how do you get your first deals as a content creator? The question on everybody's mind is that, and I want to get to that. But when you said I started by perfecting my craft. What do you mean when you say that? Because I think that is actually incredibly important. Like if you go get a deal and you're not actually like, you don't actually have the tools and skills and knowledge to like make that company an ad or a piece of content that's going to convert for them, then that's not, then it's not going to help you.
Exactly. You're not going to get more business. That's what that's going to mean.
Yeah.
Perfecting my craft is just making content and then making it in an engaging way. Like, and you can make content out of anything, like you can do daily vlogs. You can do what I did in a day. You can do your workout routine. You can do a get ready with me. You could do whatever you're passionate about. You can make content about it. But it's, again, at the end of the day, how engaging is it? How compelling is it? How entertaining is it? How educational is it? What value can it bring to whoever's watching it in order for them to actually watch it?
Right. Yeah. I think it's I think that like, I don't know how to like really get this point across. So I'm just going to say it as straightforward as I can. If what you're doing is posting something, that is growing your following or maybe isn't growing your following, I don't know. And then you're just like, my hope is that, certain brands will come to me and just want to buy a post or just want to buy something like that. Or, I can outreach to them and tell them, oh, I want to be a UGC creator for you. That Instagram page that you have or the TikTok like account that you have, that is just a working, living, breathing portfolio. You don't have to send them a portfolio of work. Maybe you do, but like you don't have to send them a port. You just look at my Instagram. Like you can tell whether I'm a creator you want to work with or not. And they can look at your Instagram and instantly tell like, oh, this is someone who gets it, who gets my market, who speaks to my market, knows how to like do a product promotion, and doesn't just like say it, right? Like some people, I think about podcasters specifically, but Instagrammers do this too, right? Where it's like, they're just like literally like trying to read something like this. They have no passion about the product and it's a script. And maybe the script was written by someone who knows what they're talking about, hopefully, or knows what they're doing, hopefully. But like the creator themselves actually isn't delivering it because they don't know how to do that. And that's not how they create content on a day-to-day basis. So what you're talking about is like, I like direct response marketing principles, like hook somebody, catch their attention, give them a lead, give them a reason to keep watching, keep them engaged throughout the piece of content, all of that stuff. And then by the end of the content that you've built enough like desire and interest that hopefully they want to get that thing that you're talking about or do that thing that you're talking about, or they're just happy enough watching your content. They're just happy they watched your content, right? And they watched all the way through to the end of your 2-minute long daily vlog or whatever, right? Like just practice that day in and day out. And it just, then getting business as a UGC creator is a lot easier and fulfilling on the business is a lot easier. The other thing it does is, it just creates opportunity for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Opportunities you would never even think about.
Yeah.
Like, point in case, I just had a collaboration with Home Depot, and
Yeah.
that like blew my mind, like they wanted me to create a meditation space. And if you look at my personal brand, I'm all about like health, wellness, mental health, self-care, all that stuff. So the fact that Home Depot reached out to me was like, hey, we want you to make 2 videos for us. We're going to post it on our Instagram page. Like, you can go to Home Depot right now and check it out. I'm on there.
Yeah.
But like the fact that they came to me, and I was like, yo, this is a blessing. Like, thank you, universe. Like, my content speaks for itself. Like, I did not have to do any cold outreach. Like, I did outreach like in January of last year when I was still part-time, before I decided to switch over my personal training website to house my actual portfolio. So I've done outreach, and one of my most successful outreach was to the Vitamin Shop. I was creating content for Vitamin Shop's TikTok page. That was like my first actual like real client before I decided to jump ship and go full time. And then my real first client that I did when I was actually full time actually started because it was a gifted collaboration. And so I did a gifted collaboration, but then they saw my work, and that was more even influencer based, but they saw the quality of my work, and they were like, hey, we have an idea. How about you create content for us? And I was like, this couldn't have came at a better time.
Right. So I do want to talk to you a little bit about the outreach side. And because that's where I think a lot of people are like, all right, well, how do I get it? I'm sold on the idea of like, I can't just be an influencer. I have to be a creator. I'm sold on that idea. I have some stuff I can share about like how we've done some outreach, and I think this is fun because you and I we're sort of different kinds of creators. Like we're more in like the podcast YouTuber vein, right? And you're a little bit more in the in Modern Commerce, just one of our shows. We also have a sports show, and that's what I'll get into when I talk about how to do an outreach. But like you're kind of more in like the lifestyle Instagram, TikTok space, which we're not really in. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, you know what, if you want to get a deal going, if you want to get some action going as a UGC creator, if you want to actually make more of a living as some kind of creator, how can we outreach? I know that you said like, I'm not doing a lot now. But if it's like, all right, I'm a big proponent of take your destiny into your own hands and do some outreach. How did you do it? How did you go about it?
Yeah. So when I first started, like I said, when I did it in January, when I still part-time with UGC creating, I found some brands that I actually use in my day-to-day life. Vitamin Shop. I've been a hardcore customer of Vitamin Shop, on auto delivery every month subscription. Like, I walk to Vitamin Shop every month, whatever. Like, I was there. So when I emailed them, I was like, hey, I've been a longtime customer. I've, been a fan of your guys' products, blah, blah, blah. My name is X, Y, and Z. This is what I do. But they don't care about who you are. They care about what you can do for them, right? So then I explained, like, hey, I'm a personal trainer. So I have the educational background to be able to create content, and I am a content creator. So I can combine the two to create some content for you guys to house on your social media channels. And they were like, let's try it out. And that turned out into like not a long term, but like I would say like a 5 or 6 month long partnership, where I was creating like 2 videos a month for them on a regular basis. So I think if you're going to do outreach, one, make sure you do the research on the actual brand and not just there's a lot of creators out here in the space that have these templates, they're pitching templates, and I'm sure they're successful because they're selling it. But like, if you're reaching out to a popular brand or getting like email lists from creators who are saying like, hey, these brands are working with other creators, email them, they're going to get a whole bunch of pitches on a weekly, monthly, daily basis, right? So like, what's going to separate you from the other person, from the other Jane Smith, right? So one, talk about yourself, but also talk about what you can do for the brand, because at the end of the day, the brand doesn't care about you, they care about what you can do for them. And at the end of the day, they care about conversions. So how can you bring that to the table? So at least know that you have an idea of what you're talking about in terms of why I'm creating content for you. It's not just, I love creating content and I can make aesthetically pleasing content for you. Okay, well, so can she. Like, what's the difference? It's like, well, my content can actually get you more followers, brand awareness, build community, get you conversions, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think I heard somebody say the other day, don't sell somebody content. Don't sell somebody a service, right? Whatever the service is. Don't sell them, email marketing as a service. Don't sell them making content for their TikTok or their Instagram as a service. Sell them, if you can, ideally, sell them getting rich. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna make you rich, right? Like, much easier to sell, right? Like, I'm like, okay,
absolutely.
Content, okay, what does it cost? Like, you're thinking about that in a value exchange as a consumer of that, or as a potential customer. You think about that in a value exchange kind of way, where you're like, what am I going to get and how much does it cost? If you can shift, as a creator, as an influencer. So think about what you're trying to do on your Instagram, on your YouTube, whatever. If you can shift from like, okay, how can I go from selling, hey, an ad spot or a piece of content or making content for someone else or outreaching, like, how can my offering be more like, I'm going to get you what you really want, right? And it's easier if you understand what they really want. That's going to be the number one way. I'm going to share a way that we've outreached recently that I think is another great way, right? So, and I've heard of creators doing similar things. I don't know if you've ever done anything like this. So we actually, for our sports podcast, which is more of it's kind of like a live streaming. There's our sports podcast, there's a whole vibe to it. But earlier this week, we shot a pilot for a company that we want to collaborate with, right? So there's a lot in sports. There's a lot of content around like daily fantasy and daily betting and stuff like. There's a lot of fantasy and betting content, right? DraftKings, FanDuel, that kind of stuff. So there's this other company that does. They've actually created like a stock marketplace for athletes where you can like invest in them and make money and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. And so we're like, well, what if we created one of those? There's nobody doing content like YouTube live stream content that's like daily fantasy, daily betting for that. What if we did that? Like we essentially create this like show where, it's the same as like somebody talking about stock market and what to invest in and stuff like that, but we do it for them. And so we did it earlier this week. We reached out. So we just made the pilots 45 minutes long, so like podcast, basically made the pilot, then reached out to them and we're like, hey, we'd like to collaborate with you on this. Cold reach out on LinkedIn, and their director of strategy was like, this is super awesome. Set up a call with us. Right. So like, that's like that's a great way probably to get in the door, is like, if you can create something for them, one, it tells them like, this isn't just an everyday outreach where somebody did 100 of them. And that, and I'm not saying volume isn't good. Volume is good, right? So to reach out to more people is probably going to help you. But if you kind of keep it tighter, like you said, like look for stuff that you actually use in your everyday life. Reach out to those people that reach out to those companies that have stuff that you actually use in your everyday life. And you're like, I really want to work with them. How do I stand out from everyone else that's cold emailing them, cold DMing them?
Yeah.
Probably with some content you've already created is a great way to do that, right? Because then they know it's like, this is customized for us, Have you ever done anything like that? Or?
Yeah. Like I will post stuff in my stories and tag brands all the time, just because I use them in my day to day. And then that gets you on their radar as well. That's another really good technique to use for in terms of just getting on the brand's radar. Another one that I've been using in terms of like switching from turning in paid or gifted collaborations into paid collaborations too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother story, but what I want to talk about is one, because I had a brand reach out to me on a gifted influencer basis. And I was telling her like, hey, I'm not.
Tell me what you mean by a gifted right now. Tell me what you mean by a gifted influencer basis.
So she wanted to send me product, and then I would, in exchange for product, I would post something on my TikTok page.
Right. Okay.
And so I was saying, hey, like, I'm not accepting gifted collaborations right now. And I took a look at their actual social media, and I saw from a creative strategist standpoint what they could do to implement a better marketing strategy for themselves. So I actually told that brand, I was like, hey, I'm looking at your content, and I'm a UGC creator, and a lot of your stuff right now is just product based, and people connect with other people. We want to humanize your actual product offerings. So I think it would be very beneficial if you started using more of your customers within your actual social media marketing strategy. And then that translated into a call where her and I talked on, we had a one-on-one where we're just like, what can I do for you to help with your brand to grow? So I sent her a proposal. I'm still waiting to hear back from her, but like, that's another really good tactic to use, is like looking at the brand's actual social media and seeing like what they're missing and what, because you're the consumer, right? And like brands are going to listen to the consumer because you're the actual target audience. So if you can offer something like, hey, we got to humanize something, like all you're doing is posting graphics and products of just the picture. Nobody like buys a product for the product. They buy a product because the experience it can give them, the feeling that they can give them, the time that they save, the money they save, whatever it may be. But nobody buys a product just to buy a product, right? So it's like, what can you offer to that brand to actually like humanize that product too?
Right. Yeah. I mean, people have to like see themselves achieving whatever it is they want to achieve from using that product, right? Like, hey, here's outcome I want, whatever it is. I want to lose weight. I want to feel better. I want to sleep better. I want to be happier. I don't know, whatever.
Feel confident.
Right?
Yeah.
Feel confident, right? There's some motivations that are core to every human and are valuable. And we've covered them on some past episodes where we go like really heavily into direct response marketing. But basically all of our purchases are driven by that, right? It's either it's either some form of status or some form of pain relief usually.
Yep.
And so it's like, if you can really tap into like, what is it that people are buying when they buy this product? Are they buying status? Are they running away from a pain? Are they running toward a pleasure? And you can get that, and the company's not really getting it, then you can make their content better, whatever that is, whether it's their organic content or whether it's their ads. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great one. The other thing I think that comes to fruition from this is, you get so for us earlier when we were talking about like that influencer model where you say, all right, I'm just going to post, I'm going to grow a following on some channel, and then I'm going to sell ad spots or sponsorships. Again, not saying we don't do that. You do that, we do that. Okay, like good way to monetize. But like I was kind of talking about how that doesn't flywheel, right? Because it's like the more ads and sponsored stuff that you do, the less engagement that you get, because like too much of your content is that. And then the less engagement you get, the more deals that you have to chase, right? And so it gets harder and harder over time. Something that does flywheel though is being a content creator, because oftentimes, like you're still monetizing as an influencer. So a lot of times with being a content creator, you can end up being a collaborator as well, right? So again, here's another great example. Modern Commerce right now is working on with a brand called Ondar that sells everyday carry goods like wallets and bags and stuff like that. I've talked about this one before. We're working on doing a creator series with them because they have a lot of content creators. They have a lot of content creators and brand ambassadors and stuff like that. And those are really valuable to them. They want to give them some content, plus attract more of them and stuff like that. So we're working on doing this creator series with them. That's a flywheel thing, right? Because now we're talking about some form of value exchange in money, some way of us, modern commerce, making money and, paying the bills and doing all that stuff that you're looking to do as a creator and influencer. Also, we get to tap into their audience and they get to tap into our audience, right? And so we reach new people, they reach new people, both audiences grow. So we get paid to grow our audience if we just look at our side of it. And if we look at their side of it, they like pay, right? So there's that, but there's so much more reach than they would normally get. And like it's a leveraged reach, right? So it's not just people who might buy the product, it's people who might buy the product and promote the product, right? Which is huge.
Right.
So look for those double leverage points. Like that's what flywheels you as a creator, right? So when you're like talking to Vitamin Shop or someone like that, and you're like, oh, I'm a, UGC creator, you start doing like, their social media stuff, it's not that weird for you to add yourself as a collaborator, or for you to tag yourself in some of their content. Not like, maybe not too much, but like sometimes, and then you get access to their audience.
Simply resharing it. Yeah. Or simply resharing it on your own stories. Like, because if I make the content and you post it, you're kind of a big brand. I'd be happy to reshare it. I want people to know I made the content.
Then they're going to get access to your audience, and they share that you're going to get access to their audience then. So that is flywheeled, because you're essentially paying to grow your audience. And then the bigger your audience grows, the bigger your asset of being both a creator and an influencer is, right? So then the business grows over time. That's what you're looking for really in all of business, is what I would call flywheels, right? Things that like both sides of it make it faster. We got a question, got a semi question here from a YouTube watcher. I'll pull it up on YouTube, but I will read it for those watching on Instagram. I have 18.8 thousand followers on my meme page. I'm definitely listening. So this is an interesting one because you're not from the meme page background. I'm not from the meme page background. How can we take the principle we're talking about right now and apply it to a meme page? I specifically know what niche this meme page is in because I know that person. So if you want that context, I can give it to you. It makes the question
Let's hear
it. It makes the question harder. You ready for it? Okay. It's an insurance agent meme page. So it's a meme page specifically for insurance agents. It's stuff that insurance agents will find funny.
Got it.
So taking the concept we're talking about of like shift yourself from being an influencer to being a creator, how do you apply that to something like a meme page?
That's interesting because like I was seeing somebody on Twitter talking about like how he has a business model where I think he earns like 10 to 20 a month, 10 to 20K a month because he has a themed page on Instagram. I don't know what the theme is, but basically people will pay him to promote, like to post on, it's like one of those theme pages where, like example, if it's a big fitness page and you're like, hey, I want to be shown on your page because you have a large audience and you show a whole bunch of different like fitness people, right? So maybe something like that. I don't know if that's the same thing as what he's doing.
Yeah, theme page,
but utilizing his utilizing his real estate and having other people who want, maybe other people who are creating memes and they want to grow their following that way, saying like, well, if you want me to showcase your meme, I've got 18,000 folks that I could post your actual page or your post on my platform and you can monetize that way. So you can charge people in order to post their stuff on your page.
Yeah. So I think that's one way. And that's actually kind of the influencer model, right? It's a pay to post. But what we're doing there is we're essentially, instead of saying we're going to post a product, which is going to make your engagement go down, you're going to reshare content that is the same as the content that you already post, right? So if it's memes or funny stuff, then you're going to reshare other memes or funny stuff so that the engagement won't go down. And you can be paid in two ways on that, in my opinion. You can be paid in money or you can be paid in clout, right? So if you have an 18,000 follower page and they have a 25,000 follower page, then you guys can just collaborate together or do a swap, right? Both of you grow. Or, if they have a smaller page, 500, 1,000 people, then you can post their stuff and that's going to grow them and you can charge something for that. That's going to be a small monetization opportunity. They're going to have a little bit of money that they can pay you for that. Another thing I can think of that's maybe more within the realm we're talking about of like, how do you shift to being a content creator instead of just an influencer? I think that you could look who uses meme pages as it's what we said at the beginning. We said, hey, the best way to monetize any following anywhere is if it's the marketing arm of a business, right? So if it's not the marketing arm of your business, then who uses meme pages as the marketing arm of their business? Who comes to mind for me is usually it's like apparel companies, like funny apparel, stuff like that. So like there's meme pages like Shithead Steve and stuff like that. I actually know a guy who has like a meme page for dogs and he sells this dog product, right? CBD companies, because a lot of them CBD or like specifically THC companies can't advertise. So a lot of times they're using meme pages to grow. So you could look into that and say, are any of them not doing it well, or are any of them not doing it at all? And then could I like do that for them? Right. So that's another way is you actually like get paid to create for someone else. Or if there's anyone else if there's any bit like even better if it's adjacent to your business, right? So if it's like, hey, there's a company, like if I have a sports meme page and there's some kind of like Barstool or something like that that has apparel, it's like, okay, then I can take over and do it for them, get, paid to create for them. And also there's a potential collaboration where I may get access to their audience as well. That's the ultimate that you're looking for, right? But I think that's the meme page is tough because it's not an actual personality and brand. Like it's very much just there for the laughs.
Or product. Yeah. So trying to monetize off of entertaining content is kind of a hard one because it's like like what are you actually selling?
So that's a good point, is like in content in general, you can entertain, you can educate, you can inform. So educate and inform.
Inspire.
Some people might combine those. I would say educate is more like I'm going to teach someone how to do something or like what they can do or whatever. What we're doing right now is educating. Informing's, I see it more as like news, right? Keeping people up to date. And you can inspire people. That's another way that you can, right? So those are kind of, you can entertain, educate, inform, or inspire. Is there something else missing? Those
storytelling.
Are ways, yeah,
storytelling is becoming really, really popular now, especially on TikTok.
So story, I would typically say story is a form of entertainment, or it's some form of
it's like relatable. Yeah.
Right. It's some form of doing all of those. If the kind of content you are making is purely entertainment, it's number one, it's just entertainment. It's not educational, informative, or inspirational at all. Inspirational, like we can leave that out. But if it's just entertainment, it's the fastest and easiest way to like grow a big audience, right? Because it's like, people can, it's just mindless, they can share it, and it's, you know, they can laugh at it, it gets a lot of engagement. It's probably the hardest to monetize at small levels, right?
Yeah.
So specifically creating informative or educational content is probably easier to monetize at small follower levels. Would you agree with that or no? Like, I mean, debate me.
No, I would agree.
Can you give me where's my blind spot on that opinion?
Nah, I mean, I agree, because it's, at least with the educational stuff, you could easily make some type of small digital product, right? And you could sell that easily. Like, house it on your website, Etsy store, whatever it may be. Like, people are gonna wanna, if you can market it correctly, like people, even with inspirational stuff, if you say like, oh, I live my life and I do a gratitude journal, I can make a digital copy of a gratitude journal and inspire people to live a healthier life, and they will purchase that. But in terms of entertaining, if I'm just over here dancing in front of if these TikTok trends, what can I sell exactly?
Well, how does that ultimately monetize? And some of the platforms are getting better at helping creators monetize just on their own, right? So I do know a guy who is more of like and we're probably going to have him on the creator series. So if you little plug, if you are into that, then make sure you follow me on Instagram. You follow ModCom podcast on Instagram, or whatever platform you're on. Follow us on whatever platform you're on, and you'll probably see it at some point down the road. But he was a TikToker who got big during the pandemic doing the trend stuff. He actually started one of the trends.
Okay.
And he's got like 700,000 on TikTok or something like that. And he actually then has now gotten hired full time at Ondar as their like social, like their creative director, basically, because they're like,
oh, no,
can you do that for us, right?
Yeah.
But he's struggling with it because he's like, I don't know, I just did this trend thing. Like, how do you relate that to a product? And that's exactly what we're talking about. If all you're doing is just like going for that entertainment, going for those eyeballs, it does become harder to like monetize that, to sell with that and stuff. It's a mass numbers game, right? So it's amassing lots and lots and lots and lots of eyeballs, and then some small percentage of them will monetize for you. But yeah, like that's kind of where he's at. But some of the platforms, like I was saying at the beginning, have gotten better. So like he said, usually if he goes live on TikTok for a little bit, he'll make a few $100s just from his like followers, giving him tips and stuff like that. And so some of the platforms have made it easier, I think, to monetize. But it's hard to like bridge the gap between that purely entertaining purely for laughs stuff and trying to sell something, right?
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
All right. So I think, we can wrap up here, and we're in about an hour here. So this is fun. I think IG might actually kick us off at an hour. They don't let you go live more than an hour. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. I haven't done a live in a long time.
You learned something new today about Instagram.
I did.
No, this was fun. This was a really good one. Let us know in the comments in the chat on IG, whatever. Do you want to see more of this? We have a podcast where we bring on entrepreneurs, creators, e-commerce brand owners, things like that. Do you want to see more Sonya? That's, if you want to see more Sonya, then let's bring you back as kind of a regular guest host. Just because, like I said, like I don't know that creator world as well, I think, as you do. And I think that you have a lot better advice for people who are like, I'm building a following, I'm creating content. How do I, one, grow the following, and two, monetize it, right? So let us know. Sonya, thank you so much for being on today. We have a tradition at
Thank you for having me.
We have a tradition at Modern Commerce. Sorry, I should have let you talk there.
No, I was just saying, thank you for having me.
Yeah. We do what we call a parting shot. So it's a TLDR for the episode. If you don't take anything else away, it'd be like, think of it like the soundbite. You know what I mean? Like if we're just going to pull out the soundbite. If you don't take anything else away from this episode, take this away. You want to take a shot at it?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's go. Go for it.
All right. If you don't take anything from this episode, at least take this. There is a good way to monetize in creating content. Like I said, my first year in, I hit 6 figures, working all inbound. First month, I made $800. And then by month 4, I was making 5 figures. I'm not saying it's this easy for everyone, but there is a network here. And if you tap into it and you utilize your skill sets, you will be able to be successful in it for sure.
Amazing. Perfect parting shot. Instagram Live has now kicked us off, I think. Oh, no, we're good. And we're still good. I got like a little weird notification. Thank you for being on. If you guys are watching on Instagram, please follow me, follow Modern Commerce, follow. If you are on LinkedIn, follow us there. If you're on Twitter, follow us there. I should have tagged you in the tweet. I'm sorry about that.
All good.
Are watching this on YouTube, please like the video and then subscribe to the channel and then hit that little bell. I need a bell. What is a bell like? Is it like that?
You need to get a real bell. It's just like the old school one.
Yeah. So hit the bell, ding, 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 so that you get notifications every time that we are live and we're having conversations like this, especially if you want to see that creator series. And if you're listening on an audio platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something like that, then please rate the show 5 stars. If you're not going to rate it 5 stars, then that's fine. Just don't rate it. Rate it 5 stars and leave a review. And we appreciate you. We will see you next time.